Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationships, and it's by user someone named Anne. Me, 23 female with my boyfriend, 25 male, of 5 months, romantic. Friends, 2 years. I have my own apartment. He wants to bring some stuff over and I don't want him to. Advice? Ryan is 25 and lives in the basement of his parents' home. He has a lot of junk, and this is one of the bigger problems I have with eventually ever living with him, if that would be a step we would take. When I inherited my aunt's home, I had to spend almost 3 months going through and cleaning out the rooms. She had no kids, and the only other family member alive is my mom, and she didn't want anything of what was there. So we went through all of it and had a huge yard sale, then donated the extra stuff. She had 3 couches stuffed into the living room, bed frames, mattresses, piles of Christmas decorations, and tons of old toys. She was a hoarder and the house was absolutely a mess. When it was clean, I had to have professionals come in and clean the carpets, repaint the walls, and fumigate. It is now a neat, orderly home without piles of junk. The only things I keep in the garage are 2 boxes of Christmas decorations and some old toys from when I was a kid. All of my friends say my house is awkwardly neat, which is true. I am a bit OCD, actually diagnosed. Once the house was done, my boyfriend Ryan asked if I would consider letting him move in. There is a spare room, now my office, and he said we didn't even have to share space. He just wanted out of his parents' house. I told him I was not comfortable with that yet and would like time to live alone, without worrying about living together. Also, we have not been together long enough that I would consider us headed for long-term living arrangements. He seemed a little offended, but dropped it. Then, last week, he asked if he could store some things at my place. When I asked how much, he told me his mother wanted him to get rid of most of his stuff because the basement was a mess and she could not stand him living like that. It was either the stuff goes or he goes. He pointed out that I do not have a lot of things. I said I could take 2 boxes, but that was it. He said okay. Then this morning he rolls up with his truck packed with boxes. He asked me to open the garage so he could load the first parts in. Then his brother pulls up with even more crap. We got into a huge fight. I told him he needed to rent a storage unit and that crap was not coming into my home. He said I don't even use my garage, which is a lie. I paint in there and my bike, motorcycle, and car are stored there. He said I could deal with parking outside for a few months. I told him it was not happening. So they unloaded his crap right into my front lawn. He told me to deal with it because he was done. I have told him to come get his stuff, but he said I was a bitch and he was going to put it in my house. I have been getting angry calls from him and his friends saying I cannot go back on my word. What do I do about this? I am so effing mad. I don't want his crap in my house, but he told everyone I lied and locked him out. How do I deal with this? Am I being unreasonable? What? No, OP, you're not being unreasonable. You're being taken advantage of, or trying to be taken advantage of. Here's what I would do if I were you. I would check the regulations of what is considered abandoned of property on a public space or something like that to see if you can tell him to get his crap or the trash is gonna take it out the next time they come. At least here where I live, sometimes people leave stuff on the curb and the trash takes it, or maybe somebody else does, like it's a gift or something. They actually put a little sign that says Zu verschenken. And then block all their numbers and tell your boyfriend to take a hike with his stuff, or let's call it future ex-boyfriend, because honestly, what the hell, what kind of person treats you like this after 5 months trying to move in with you and then trying to force his stuff on you? No, OP, this is not a healthy relationship, and you gotta dodge this bullet like Neo did. And what do you guys think about this whole situation? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Marowest says, honestly, from the aggressive way he is acting, I'm tempted to advise you to file a police report and talk to the police to let them know what's going on. Not necessarily to get him arrested or anything, just to let them know what's going on and that he's been threatening and verbally abusing you. It's illegal for him to dump onto private property the way he has, and I'm afraid that if you get it hauled away, he will try to threaten you with theft or something. Which would be ridiculous, but at least you have a police report to back you up. I would at least consider it, especially if he gets more threatening. Also, if he has a key, get your locks changed. And Opie responds, I have been told that if he says that he does not want the stuff anymore, I can do as I like with it. Coffee Kappa says, while I appreciate you writing about why you want your house neat, you really do not need any excuse except you want it that way. It doesn't matter if your boyfriend has been your boyfriend for 5 months or 5 years. What he did is unacceptable. You don't owe him anything regarding your home. Trying to strong-arm you into storing his stuff when you were graceful to accept 2 boxes and then threatening you together with his friends to accept all his crap, even if he changes his tune and apologizes, consider this a clear deal breaker. This guy has no concept of acceptable behavior and boundaries and doesn't treat you as an equal human being. Lynn says, it doesn't matter if you don't use the garage, it's effing yours and he is not entitled to it. Call the police and get a record of all of this, including anything he said that indicates he's given it to you. Then get rid of it any way you want once you get clearance from the police, possibly also a lawyer. Also, you've texted him about breaking up, right? So he's your ex. Good riddance. Additional information from OP's comments. He is still tentatively my boyfriend. I have dumped him in my head, he just hasn't answered any of my texts about his stuff or the breakup. I believe he cannot really respect me by doing this. His things are still on my front lawn and trash day is tomorrow. Also, I am sure someone will go through the boxes if they stay there long enough. I am going to talk to the police about what to do. If he tells me I can keep it all, I'm going through it and then asking the neighborhood kids if they want his stuff. He has a lot of action figures. Alright, well, the community definitely gave OP a lot better advice and more educated than the one I did. And we also learned that OP has definitely broken up with him. Maybe he hasn't gotten the memo or text yet, but that happened. Now, OP gave us 2 updates to this story, so let's move on with the first one. I broke up with him and he called me to yell at me about it, so that is taken care of. I know people said I don't need his permission to break up, but I liked saying the words. You were such an a-hole, we are done. It is therapeutic. On another note, I called the non-emergency number for the local police department. I spoke to an officer and told him the situation. I said I had several texts from Ryan saying he didn't care what I did with the stuff. Officer Awesome came down, checked the boxes and looked at my texts, the Facebook conversation, and the email from his mother asking me to stop calling. He said it looked like Ryan had given me permission to have the stuff. Here's how the messages went. I said, Ryan, come get your stuff. I'm going to call the police about it. He responded, like I care what you do with the crap. Stop calling me. We're broken up. So then I said, I am formally telling you, if you don't pick up your stuff today, then you will not have it when you come back. I will call someone to pick it up or have the police haul it off. And he ended the conversation with, I don't care. Effing burn it. Enjoy. So we filed a report. Officer Awesome took the information I gave him and made 2 calls. One to Ryan's mother, who said she refused to take the stuff back. Another was to Ryan, who informed him that I had said he could leave it there and he was on a bus to another state and would not be back within the time frame to pick his stuff up. The police officer said it sounded like it was mine now. He advised me to go through it and send back any legal documents. He also stood around while I opened all the boxes up and saw what was in them. He said it was not theft since Ryan abandoned it, refused to send anyone to pick up the objects, and I was not living with him. I now owned this crap, and it was a lot of crap. Only 3 boxes had anything not crap in them. I now own a Nintendo 64, 30 games, a PS4, and various other games. There were also some nice busts of superheroes. Other than that, it was already clothes, some books I kept, useless outdated porn magazines, some documents I gave to the police, and a train set. The train set went to the kids who were watching me tackle the boxes. I also have it documented so if Ryan tries to come back for his stuff, he won't have legal ground. I am going to sell some of the crap, the rest I'd rather like. Thanks for all the advice. Okay, so I guess this now turned into some sort of weird episode of Storage Wars. Anyways, let's move on to the final update because Ryan came back. I'm not sure why I think Reddit would care about what I'm doing with my life, but I recently had an interesting update that I thought you guys might like to hear. Father, it has been 9 days since my last confession. In the last week or so, I have tried to do what is best for my sanity. I started working out, did some repairs around the house, and changed the locks on my gate, garage, windows, and doors. Also, Ryan is allergic to dogs, so I had to put off getting one. I now am the proud mommy of a 6-month-old husky. Her name is Riley. I also went on a date with a guy I met at the coffee shop. Now, it's been 10 days since he abandoned his crap on my lawn, and while I am still in shock over what happened, I have worked towards getting over it and moving on. I even joined a gym with my best friend. Going from the advice people told me, I sold the loot and bought myself a few things. I got like $600 roughly. I did not think I would hear from Ryan again. I made it abundantly clear that we were done and his stuff was gone. I have police reports, witness statements, and evidence that said he abandoned it and did not want it. Well, guess what? This morning I got a knock on the door from his mother. She has her work truck with her. I hope that she is here for something else, but I kind of know where this is going to go. Why bring the truck and not her normal car? I have never known her to drive the truck unless she was doing something for work. Or, I don't know, picking up her son's boxes? From what she told me, Ryan said that we got in a fight over something stupid, but I eventually let him store the boxes. Since they were not on the lawn and I had a garage, she figured I had relented. I didn't want to be rude to her because I did enjoy her company many times in the past. I told her I was sorry, but I broke up with Ryan a week ago and his stuff was no longer here. I said the police said it was considered abandoned and that I had gotten rid of it. She looked upset. She said Ryan was back and had asked her to pick up the stuff in case I was still upset. I said this was the last she would hear about the stuff because it was gone. I had nothing and I did not want to hear from Ryan again. I told her I requested he not contact me again and she just nodded and left. I got a few nasty texts from him saying he wanted his crap, he knew I had it, he was going to come for it. I told him that it was gone and he needed to leave me alone. Later, I got a knock on the door and he is there with a friend telling me he wants to check out my garage. If his crap is gone, I owed him money. I reminded him I called and asked him to pick it up before he went on vacation. I was sick of this crap. We were over and he needed to leave me alone. I started to call 911 and he left. His friend stayed behind, apologized, and left. I hope he stays away, but I called the non-emergency number to talk to the police. They said they remembered me and made a report that he showed up. He does it again, I am going to file harassment charges. I have been documenting everything. My security cameras are set to arrive in a few days and I am working on a restraining order. My neighbors, to who I gave the train set, are aware of the situation and are watching the house for me when I go to work, to make sure nothing goes wrong. Well, P, good for you. Everything is clear. Hopefully Ryan's not going to bother you again, and you've got enough evidence and backup that if he does try to do anything, it's going to go very badly for him. So all the best in the future, OP, and thank you for sharing. Now, let's move on to the next post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user JWBR3815. Shame me with lunch detention? Joke's on you, I'll sit here forever. I had forgotten about this story until the other day when I was chatting with a friend I went to high school with. It's silly, but I think it fits. It was the late 90s. I was still wearing too much flannel and continuing my historical trend on keeping books from the library much too long. I had a paper due for my sophomore global studies class, so I naturally took out more books than I could read, wrote the essay, and completely forgot about the books piled in the corner of my bedroom. After a series of overdue slips sent to my homeroom, I eventually did return the 4 or 5 books one sunny afternoon in the anonymous drop book during a study period, promptly moved on to bigger and better things. About 2 weeks later, I was called down to the assistant principal's office in that space of time before classes officially started that was reserved for one thing and one thing only. The reprobates and delinquents were in trouble. I walked the halls thinking that surely this was just a timing mishap and I was being summoned to receive congratulations for some kind of award I didn't know I had entered into competition for. Yep, he just wants to prepare me for the surprise ticker tape parade. I was wholly unprepared to hear that I was receiving lunch detention to start immediately because I had not returned a single book that I still remember was limb and had a white and red cover from my GS paper research. I tried to argue that there was a mistake since I was sure, like I am sure that I have fingertips, that I had returned it. But he could not be moved. I was sentenced to indefinite lunch detention until I either returned the book or paid the $16 to replace it. I left the office late for first period, defeated, but kept my head held high at lunch later that day as I walked past the entirety of the cafeteria, which held a couple hundred of my peers. Plastic food tray in hand, I went down the hall to the old shop classroom that had since been moved and awaited detention. I checked in with Mrs. Brown at her desk in front and took a discreet seat in the back. Staring down at my canned peach slices, I braced for the worst. A murderous ruckus was going to break out any minute, I could tell. But once my ears stopped ringing, I discovered that it was really a calm escape from the crowded and rowdy lunchroom. I ate slowly that day, enjoyed my young thoughts in blissful quiet, and wondered what kind of heaven was this. To be fair, I did search far and wide for that book that first day. Attempts to find it in my locker, bedroom, and backpack were fruitless, and the general consensus in my home was that the school was being ridiculous. I certainly wasn't going to pay for something I didn't lose. So the next day, considering my brief brush with the law and the invisible stain already attached to my reputation, I went armed with a book and my lunch past the maddening crowds of the detention room. I sat there day after day for nearly 2 months of lunches. In retrospect, to this day, those remain some of the most relaxing lunch breaks of my life. I had around 40 solid minutes to recharge in mostly complete silence with my reasonably priced lunch and whatever book I was currently reading. I had to recount my origin story a few times since no one could figure out how the quiet bookworm of a girl who had never been in trouble before had landed in the wilds of detention. But I was mostly left to my own devices in this newly found peaceful retreat. I was friendly with Mrs. Brown, who had worked for the district of my small town since I was in elementary school, and even hooked her up with a sweet horse whisper poster that she loved from my family's mom and pop video store. She must have felt bad for me because somewhere around the 1-month mark she started up a collection to cover the cost of the book. She added the initial donation, but teachers who would stop by to chit-chat would add loose change to it, and race to buy my freedom was on. After a few weeks, she handed me just under $7. My love of solitude was no match for the guilt of carrying around that money or my mom, who had just started a new job in the school district. So with a heavy heart, I paid in full for the missing book and went back to my old lunch table in the thick of the action. Months later, during the last week of school, I was called down to the library at my convenience and with sweaty palms forced myself to face the music over what was inevitably going to be yet another overdue book at the end of the day. Well, lo and behold. The end-of-year inventory check had located the book as waylaid in the wrong section of the library. I received a few sheepish looks from the librarians as they refunded the money and apologized in a backward way that still made me the bad guy, as overdue books are the realm blemish of one's character. So how were they to assume that I didn't lose the book? Now, remember my mom's new job in the school? Well, she just happened to be walking by the library just as I was finishing up, and to say that she laid into them is far too extreme sounding, but she did scold some stern-faced librarians into giving me a proper apology. She also demanded that they look into reforming their system and, my favorite part, take the proper measures to expunge my record. She was very concerned about me carrying around the albatross of false accusation apparently, and just like that, my life of crime was over. Well, this was a refreshing mix of silver linings and proper justice. Thank you for sharing, OP. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I really did enjoy reading them to you. So if you did, then don't be shy and go ahead and give the video a like. And don't forget to subscribe or even share this video with people that you might think will enjoy my storytelling. Also, if you have the time, go down to the video description and check out all the links I have for you, from our Discord community to my channel merch. And finally, I'd like to say thank you for watching. It really means a lot to me that you enjoy my videos. And having said all that, I'll see you guys in the next video.